Go ahead and get him going.
All right.
I think it's starting.
A lot.
Yeah.
Was it Lost Temple? Oh, first map steps.
You're listening to the Artosis thing in the background?
Yeah. Do you know Artosis personally?
I've met him, yeah, a couple times.
Is he cool?
Yeah, he's fun. I shouldn't say this, but he's one of the most entertaining drunks ever. So fun.
Oh man, I can imagine.
He's like
already eccentric.
Yeah, he's a really cheery guy, actually.
Oh, they actually heard it.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's like a really cheery guy. He's like really fun to hang out with. Yeah, really well, actually. This setup is like better than everything. This setup, I haven't been to a live event where it's had a setup this good, basically.
Or what?
I've yet to be to a live event where it's had a setup like this that wasn't terrible.
Yeah. My guys will hook you up.
Yeah. So this works out well. And I can hear myself in the background.
Yeah, no. It's like hearing you talk about Artosis in the background. So.
He's a good man.
Yeah, man. I'd love to meet Artosis one day.
Wait until we have it up on the screen. It's like all in the background. Okay.
All right.
Let's do it. See if the players are ready. The one thing that does annoy me is I'll be like, I could make video encoding super easy for you, and he's like, and he just never gets back to me on it.
Artosis?
Artosis, yeah.
Oh. Who's excited? Alright, we got Polar versus NRG.
All right, just so I can get a quick check in the crowd, how many people are here representing UCI? Yeah, 2 guys! Woo! And how many people here from UCSD? All right.
All right.
Let's go ahead and get this going. Yeah, Still waiting for a reply from either Cheese or Polar. Go ahead and prod them. Oh, cool. The echo is like not too bad. Hold on, let's try this. Echo.
My log information was incorrect. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Battle.net 2.0.
Trying to think of creative things to say on delay. Maybe I can do the like row, 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 row.
Oh my God, so much.
It almost works.
Skipping.
Do a choral with myself.
All
Is that
right.
what that's called? A choral? That doesn't sound right.
A choral?
Chorus?
Chorus? A one-man ensemble.
One-man ensemble. Oh, his internet's down. QQ.
All right, so it looks like there is a little bit of delay between Cheese and Polar, especially since we have internet problems a little bit earlier today. It was pretty good from the rounds we started casting, but I guess it's coming back to plague us a little bit.
So in this final set, we're doing 2 best-of-3s, by the way, to the live stream. So basically what has to happen here is if Cheese beats Polar in this first best-of-3, he's going to go to a second best-of-3, and that will be the championship. Yeah. However, if Polar wins the first best-of-3, he's the champion.
Yeah, and of course this does help consistency play. Polar has not lost a single series all tournament. Of course, Cheese did lose 1 series, and it was to Polar. So,
wow.
Of course, Polar does have that a little bit of a mental advantage over Cheese. Cheese didn't manage to do too much even to win those games. So Polar won it pretty convincingly. So, of course, Cheese will probably be looking to change up his strategy a little bit in terms of dealing with Polar's game.
I don't know. I think I've seen Cheese before, and you could see the rage building behind his eyes.
Yeah, he was definitely not
You can
happy.
get his hands starting to get the veins like popping, which just increases APM 20-fold with the anger. The Hulk UCSD player.
He's busting out all green.
That'd be kind of intimidating if you're just playing, StarCraft. You're sitting across from a guy, you look over, all of a sudden the mild-mannered, Asian UCSD student, suddenly this huge monster screen thing. Yeah, I wouldn't want to play against that.
Yeah, absolutely. You always wonder how superheroes would play video games.
Yeah.
They'd probably just break the game, mess up, use their powers to mess up the opponent.
That's one thing that's always annoyed me about Superman. They always have this Superman thing where it's like, oh yeah, you can type totally fast. And it's like, how is he not just typing and just breaking the keyboard instantaneously?
I know, right? It doesn't even make sense.
Does he have what did he just get titanium keyboards built or something like that?
No, it's probably the paradox of Superman, that he's
Yeah.
as strong as an ox, but he's light as a feather.
Yeah. Gentleness, whatever. It's like Zerglings at life. How do you control that small ball of energy that wants to eat everything? It's are they really going to obey anything?
Actually,
I can't get my cat to just do what I say. And he's hungry all the time. Zerglings got to have 10 times the appetite.
Absolutely.
And they can eat anything. It's like metal, no problem, delicious.
Yeah.
They're like goats, but aggressive and with bigger teeth.
Oh my God, goats are pretty scary, man. Have you
Goats
ever been to a
are
ranch?
scary. Have you ever
hungry?
Have you ever looked a goat in the eye? They got the weird square eye thing going.
It's soulless black.
They are. They're soulless black, and they
staring them in the
you'd
eye.
think they were retarded because when you look them in the face, they just kind of look with a derp sort of look. In fact, Google a goat here in the background. Let's see if we can get an image of a goat in the background. They really do. They just look dumb, but they're really intelligent. There's a reason we don't really have goats domesticated. Let's see if we can get a face. Wow, right there, perfect. Let's bring that up full screen. Look at that. Not trustworthy. You'd think oh yeah, it looks so friendly. He's like, no, he's thinking kill.
It's the eyes of a killer, man.
It's a good thing they have such enormous appetites, so they haven't taken over the world at this stage. They're too busy just stuffing their face constantly.
See them killing all of our green life?
Yeah.
They're the reason of global warming, man.
The bees are dying. It's the goat's fault. I knew it all along.
All right.
Still waiting on internet problems.
We're still waiting on Polar. It's not even online.
Trying to loop the goats back into this, but I really don't have any excuse along those. I've got nothing on that corner.
No worries, no worries.
Wonder if there actually is a battle name out there where it's just Killer Goat or Goat Revenge. I'd be scared to play against that guy. Especially if I was someone named Cheese.
Yeah, Goat Cheese. Goat Cheese. Actually, Goat Cheese is extremely healthy. Did you know that?
Is it really?
Yeah. There's a lot of bad cheeses for you, but the good cheeses are goat cheese. Cottage cheese is really good as well. Swiss cheese is a lot better. You want to skip on the other kind of things like Jack Cheddar or
I have heard that it's someone made a good point where it's people think it's kind of gross to drink standard human breast milk sort of stuff, but it's delicious cow's milk.
Yeah.
But when you look at a cow, do you really think, something white and coming out of that thing is going to be necessarily?
When I see everything else coming out of the cow, I'm definitely not appetized by
They
that.
don't look like the most humane or what's the word? Sanitary of animals at large. Where I'd be they have 4 stomachs. It's but no, let's feed our kids lots of stuff out of this thing right here. That'll be good for them.
Don't you ever wonder how they discovered milk from cows were okay to drink?
Okay, milk I can actually get because milk, you can align it to other mammals and things. But mushrooms, I will never understand mushrooms.
Why not?
Do you know how mushrooms grow?
Well, they're fungus.
Yeah, they're fungus. So it's basically a pile of manure. You see a mushroom growing out of that, and it's delicious.
I don't know, man. There are some weird people out there, and they probably discovered it, and then people probably didn't believe them. But,
I don't know.
I don't know. Mushrooms are.
I've never
mushrooms
liked
are kind of gross. I'm not gonna lie.
The guy that disconnected should be joining again.
Okay. Looks like we actually had a update from tech. We're waiting on. You should be connected actually. So
okay.
Momentarily.
Polar, where you at?
There we have Polar. All right, we're good to go. Let's see if they are ready. Hype up the crowd. Everybody ready for this? Keep in mind, Cheese is going up the hill. He needs to win 2 best of 3s. Polar, on the other hand, if he wins 1 best of 3, he will be our champion.
All right, so it will be Protoss versus Terran on Steps of War for our match. And, of course, Cheese coming off a win from Steps of War in PvZ. So his confidence probably running pretty high to come all the way back from the loser's bracket, as he did lose to Polar pretty early in the tournament.
So who are you favoring actually in this match? Because I got to say, Cheese has shown us that he's really, really sharp when it comes to that small unit macro grouping. But on the other hand, we saw Polar with some really interesting creative builds.
Absolutely. Polar, of course, going for some pretty early rushes off of that one base while expanding. So he likes to put on that pressure a lot, never really trying just to fast expand and play a defensive map. But at the same time, it looks like Cheese, I know he likes to favor one gate fast expand builds. So I know that at the same time, he's going to try to be able to put on a lot of pressure. But of course, Steps of War is a map that is really close proximity, so it's going to be pretty hard to say. I think I have to give my edge to Cheese here.
Looks like Cheese having a little bit of nerves early. Just pulled a probe off the line a little bit early and got that pylon down as just a half second later. So perhaps playing a little bit nervous, knowing he's in a championship match, knowing that there is money on the line. Looks like nothing too crazy from either player, though, to start. Neither player deciding to go with anything super proximity. Looks like Polar doing the standard thing, building the supply depot inside of his base. I assume he's going to build that that barracks close on the interior. Usually you don't see Terran going for that for that seal at their choke as much because of the stalkers and the penchant early. But never mind, Cheese pulling all the probes off the line.
Oh
he
my
wants
goodness.
to end this early.
This is the 11 or the 12 probes right here that Cheese is going for a rush, and this is quite a ridiculous rush that Cheese wants to do. One SCV is actually caught in the fray, and that can make a huge difference. Cheese not even going to go. He's just going to forego it. Barracks nowhere near being done, so this is going to be quite ambitious. No, he's actually going to try to go for that SCV, and at this point, Polar has to be careful because he does have the advantage, but probes, of course, are able to recharge their shields pretty easily.
Everything off the line now. Oh, wow. Big engagement. It looks like the SCVs have a decent spread. Cheese just idling back some SCVs is microing this really, really well. Bring up the harvester count so we can actually take a look at 11 probes versus 10, but that barracks is building in the background. I don't know if he has 50 minerals to actually to get that finish. So now 9 probes left versus 11.
At this point, right now, Cheese is behind in the worker count, and he is harassing mineral time, though. And it looks like at this point, he's going to type another probe, or another SCV, rather, and it looks like Cheese wants to be careful because as soon as the Marine comes out, all those probes are going to die.
They're going to jump. Well, let's see if the probes can get in position to jump on that Marine as soon as it spawns. Polar needs to be in position. Never mind, he's going to be able to back that Marine out, and that is a huge advantage in this fight, obviously, having an actual attack unit instead of your starting probe units with those probes trying to hunt him down. Let's see if he actually backs off with these probes at this stage. Actually, just doing a reset here. He might be not be in too terrible a situation. So he is falling back here. Granted, he is going to be a bit behind as far as infrastructure goes, but as far as just flat unit count goes, he's not so far behind. He is going to have to deal with 2 Marines running up into his base, and he has all that lost mining time where he was running up and now in retreat.
Absolutely. So the most important thing of that rush was not only to reduce the SCV count, but to stop mining time. And unfortunately, Cheese is pretty behind at this point. If you pull up the income tab, there is double the income for Polar, and of course that much in the early game matters a huge lot, Diggity.
Wow. So Polar running in now with 2 Marines. It's his turn to be aggressive. I have to say that was very ballsy of Cheese to try that in the intro, particularly considering he's behind in the matches. He is out of the losers bracket. Now the probes gathering up to chase down the Marines once again. It looks like the Marines in full retreat. They are really hauling. I almost feel like they got to be having that gun up above their head, to like, trying to just flee for their lives. Now just running from 2 probes. She's actually handling this really well. 3rd Marine now in there. But looks like, just barely 1 Marine escaping with 5 health. Now finally spotting at the natural. 3 Marines gathering up. And, wow, these probes are just doing a fantastic job. You'd think that Marines weren't like decent attack units the way they're fleeing here from the onslaught of the probes.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, it looks like Polar, as he's going to get zippity zapped all the way back home, does have a couple more Marines, getting a second, going for 3 barracks play, so looking to be pretty aggressive off of that one base. Meanwhile, Cheese is pulling back the rest of his probes, going for a cybernetics core, but at this point, his production is going to be sorely outmatched as soon as Polar is able to boost out of these 3 barracks.
Cheese is going to have to micro his way to victory at this stage, which honestly is possible looking at the way he's played this match thus far. But yeah, way behind as far as just raw mineral intake, and on top of that, I think what we're going to see to follow this up from Polar is just a lot of Marines, maybe even some Marauders thrown in, but I think he's going to turn right back around once he has sufficient troops and doesn't have to worry about the mighty probe, has the mass of the Marines where he doesn't have to worry about them, and you just go in for basically a quick game-ending attack.
Absolutely. So it looks like right now Cheese trying to get Warp Gate, trying to get his Stalkers out. Of course, he is behind in the worker count by 4, especially with mules. That makes a huge difference. So right now Polar looking very, very sharp. And at this point, he's going for 3 tech labs, so going for some heavy marauders as soon as this is done. And I wonder if he's going to try to wait for stim. No, looks like he's just going to try to make as many marauders as possible and then go for a pretty strong timing push before Cheese can get up his production facilities.
I like that decision a lot, actually, because the marauders basically deal with anything first tier that Cheese can really throw out. And really, the only thing I think that can save Cheese here is if he psychically gets out a sentry and can just hold with a force field or two. If he can maybe get that out, get warp gates, and just hold off with sentries through time. There was a sizable investment here from, well, it looks like concussive shells also being upgraded. There was a sizable investment in these barracks. The problem with that is even then Polar can just take a natural expansion. He'll have map control to follow that out. Looks like he's getting 3 gates as well. So it's going to be 4 gate timing now, but I can't even call this a timing anymore just with the craziness that's happened. But he still needs to get that first sentry out so he can defend long enough to have that infrastructure in place.
Now it looks like Polar actually wants to expand at this point, so I think at this point Cheese is a little bit safer than he normally would be as opposed to Polar just going for that charge. And I think Polar definitely knows that he's ahead, so rather than trying to go for an all-in where it might fail, although I do think he would have won at that point, he wants to go for a higher success rate of winning, going for that expansion, just compounding his lead. And at this point Cheese really, again, still does not have much. He's still being really passive and trying to get his production facilities up.
One thing I do feel though is if you have a gigantic army like this and you know you have the unit count advantage, you don't have to dedicate to an attack, but you should at least shove it in your opponent's face so he actually, gets a little bit more nervous, is more making mistakes. And the one thing I have to say from Polar right here that is hurting him is he's not scouting at all.
Yes.
He doesn't have an SCV up there, he doesn't have a probe up there, he has no idea what the follow-up is, he doesn't know if there's an expansion that's been taken out in the meantime. Looks like finally he's got a comstat and he's seeing the unit composition here, but he still doesn't know how many gateways he's facing. He doesn't know whether this was produced off 2 gates magically and some chrono boost, or whether he's going up a 4-gate attack, whatnot. Looks like he is now starting to move up to engage, though.
Now he wants to be careful. He does not want to get his units split up the ramp too early. It looks like Cheese is actually going to do preemptively, trying to get more units, knowing that he's going to fall behind. And actually, Cheese only has room for 2 more force fields, so he has to use this pretty wisely. And then considering the fact that Polar has a couple SCVs to tank, this push can be pretty deadly if it doesn't time it right.
Actually, I think Cheese should just, oops, a little bit late there. I think what he should do is actually just let some of the units up, try to split that army in half, and then just try to crush it that way. And he is dedicated to, it looks like he's just going to try to continue building that army count. Actually, if we can just get the flat army count up, because it looks like it is 66 comparatively to 50. Oh, Cheese actually supply blocking himself right here, which is going to hurt a lot. Now getting the additional units out. And I almost wonder when he's going to decide, because he's in a position where he's thinking, I'm going to move out and attack here. And I'm almost wondering what that trigger is going to be. So yeah, I would say you should just let a couple. He does manage to trap 1 Marauder there. Let's see if he can get the Stalkers out there to snipe it. Ooh, losing a Zealot on the edge and just trying to pick things off on the corner, and just perhaps too many Zealots, not enough Stalkers to really effectively execute that. Probably didn't let the Marauder high enough up. Just too close where it could reinforce on that edge. But Cheese with a lot of sentries now. Yeah. So it looks like what he's going to try to do is do that force field again, almost like what he's doing against the Roaches. Try to force field that back edge. Let the Zealots get into proximity, chew those Marauders apart, and if he can micro that way, it can be very effective. But if the longer he sits, the further Polar is pulling ahead.
Absolutely. In this case right now, Polar is up almost double in income compared to that of Cheese. And of course, Cheese is trying to macro as much as possible. Looks like he's just going to try to go for a super push. And I mean, at this point, why not? And he's going to be really behind even if he throws out an expansion. And here comes the move out. Looks like Cheese ready to engage, and looks like he's going to send a probe forward. At the same time, Polar wisely putting up a turret just in case of any kind of weird DT push or maybe a void ray push that might come out of Cheese. He doesn't know. And so at this point, Cheese right now is going to try to engage correctly. One Stalker does get a good sense of the army, and here comes the attack.
Oh, he's going to back this off a little bit. And that's the thing is the concussive shells make this army so much scarier. Looks like Cheese is just going to back off. This is getting a proximity pylon near the 3rd. Is also taking a natural expansion. So his plan now is okay, I'm just going to sit back. I know I'm behind economically. I'm going to go ahead and try to take my natural, though, and try to win it the next stage of the match. Hope Polar goes for a 3rd and just harass him there. Do a little bit of harassment, a little bit of denial, but no, wow. Polar right on top of it, able to take out that probe. He's going to also take out that pylon. And I like this decision by Polar, and I think this is really going to pay off, particularly in the mid-game.
Absolutely, and I think right now Polar doing the smart thing, bunkering up. Right now, he's just getting all kinds of upgrades. Stim, combat shield, he's finally taking up to factory. Meanwhile, Cheese, I really thought he was going to attack at this point, but instead trying to go for a Nexus, and he's going to be able to try to get up his economy to match that of Polar, but Polar is just soaring far ahead. He is up 43 to 29 workers right now, so of course, Polar in a very, very good spot to just start pumping out units by the dozens.
It looks like Cheese, at least he has enough sentries out where he can more or less defend practically indefinitely, even at this wider ramp. But at the same time, he's got to do something magical off 2 bases to catch up to Polar. Polar just is economically dominant. He's going to be able to produce a lot. If he just sits back and lets Polar have map control, expand like crazy, the match is just going to run away from him.
Absolutely, and I think there's small things right now. Cheese might be a little bit scrambling. He only has 2 probes in this gas right now. And there's also small different things, like he's definitely not scouting too much of the Terran. Instead, he's actually going to be surprised by this push. Instead, he does have an observer here, so it looks like Polar wants to go for a good push, but if he can get some good force fields, then he can definitely defeat this army.
Yeah, Polar needs to be very careful. Looks like we might see an engagement. There is the Guardian Shield up to try to minimize a little bit of that damage. Second Guardian Shield pinning half the troops in. It looks like Cheese is going to be able to get Zealots on the front line. The Zealots actually eating a lot of damage, but a lot of Marines trapped in there, able to split that army in half, but the Marauders able to just cover along that corner, provide some additional defense. Looks like he's going to engage again. Another split. Beautiful. Polar's army trapped in half. And I got to say, Cheese is beautifully microing this against a much larger force, but Polar, the reinforcements still pushing forward, and it looks like Polar just has streams and streams of Marauder to break through this front door. Oh man, Cheese trying to back off now. And yeah, there's just too many Marauders. Looks like some probes coming off the line, but I expected GG shortly.
Absolutely. So although Cheese did some nice force fields, again, same thing with the story of Shuey. Though he has good force fields, just not enough to hold it off. And at this point, Polar doing a nice job. Only Marauders left, but this task force of Marauders is hungry for blood, for revenge for all the fallen Marine brethren.
Yeah, it looks like the final set of probes coming off the line, just a lot like we started this match here. Yeah, the probes were awesome early game, but Marauders a completely different story. Again, their first string, not the second string guys. So it looks like we're going to see the GG from Cheese moving on to match 2.
Absolutely. So Polar will take game 1, and looks like Cheese is down the whole 0-1. He will have to win the next 2 games, or else his tournament life is over. But of course, Cheese does get to pick the next match, so hopefully he can pick himself up from there.
I got to say, though, that was a really gutsy opening from Cheese, saying, I'm going to just play this heads up. And for a minute there, I thought he might pull it off. But really well defended by Polar. I'm kind of curious what we're going to see in match 2. Cheese being true to his name, really.
Absolutely. Of course, he did do this one time earlier in the tournament as well, and it actually worked pretty well. He was able to actually kill a lot of SCVs, but unfortunately this time Polar definitely held it really, really well. Perhaps even maybe knowing that Cheese would do something like that, and definitely was able to pull ahead from that point on.
So moving on to Xel'Naga Caverns, which, I don't know, I feel like it's a pretty solid map for a PvT.
I think so too.
It's a good map to move on to.
Glad we agree.
Yes, I'm in agreement. Start a fist fight up on stage. Be fun too.
Absolutely.
Stare you down.
I'm a lover, not a fighter.
Gotcha. Okay, looks like we're ready to go. Go ahead and get it started. Should start smack now. Say your mom or something really quick. Got to do it in appropriate timing though, so you have like no room to talk.
Yeah.
Trying to think of it here. Gosh, got to think of your mom joke. Quick, quick. Something planetary. No,
no.
Work.
We Asians, we don't say your mom jokes. We say my mom jokes.
Oh, fine. Bottom left-hand corner, we have Cheese starting as the orange Protoss. Upper right-hand corner, we have Polar as the green Terran. This again is Xel'Naga Caverns, which both these players, and self-insult there, by the way, just catching it. Like, wait a minute. Anyway, Xel'Naga Caverns tends to be a little bit longer, one-base play, and really what I may be going to favor Polar a little bit because it seems like Cheese does fantastic when it comes to the small match, but I feel like Xel'Naga Caverns is all about after 2-base play and keeping track of your opponent's army and just having that long-term economic victory, and it seems like Polar has done a much better job in all of his matches thus far towards that end.
Absolutely, and I think at this point Cheese probably has to rely on a very solid build, not try to go for anything gimmicky, especially since this is his last chance in the tournament. He has to just basically win from this point on, and looks like Cheese right now maybe probably thinking what he might fall back on the standard warp gate timing pushes that he's pretty good at. At the same time, Polar, I'm still waiting to see what he might do because last game doesn't really count, especially since the way we started off.
Yeah. So 48 to victory, perhaps. I like the checking for the pylon. Nice Polar. Making sure that there wasn't any additional sneaky probe. His name is Cheese, so got to be careful.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I have to admit, this is one of those psychic situations again. It's like 4-gate, and then like, how did you know? Yeah, even earlier. It seems like that does seem to be the standard Protoss thing to do lately.
Absolutely, and of course, it is a little bit easier to hold, especially if Protoss catches whiff. Simply throw up a couple bunkers, and they should be okay.
Two gas before barracks. Wow. Or sorry, never mind. Second gas is after barracks, but that's still a very early second gas. So we're definitely going to see some form of tech. It looks like ignore me. Barracks is in the production tab. But it looks like that probe is going to scout this in open field. So very interesting statement up to Cheese. Just like, hey, I'm going to take gas. I'm going to let you see it even. Go ahead and come at me, bro.
Absolutely, and looks like right now Polar trying to do a little bit of harassment, drilling that ice crystal away. Meanwhile, it looks like Polar, of course, gonna just do the standard opening here, and it's gonna be really hard for Cheese to tell exactly what he wants to do, especially since Polar does have that barracks. But of course, he's gonna make that second barracks just as Cheese leaves. So nice timing there, just to avoid any kind of given away information.
Looks like we do have 2 barracks opening, so interesting, off 2 gas. I was expecting to see a factory a little bit earlier, so I almost wonder if we're going to see a heavy Marauder, stim pack, almost early beta sort of rush, which we haven't seen for quite some time. This is a very wide map, so it's kind of odd to see this here, but it could definitely catch Cheese more or less out of, I mean, we haven't seen it in a very, very long time. Stim pack is upgrading, so I believe that is in fact what we're going to see. We're going to see a large Marauder stim pack concussive shell upgrade. So let's see if we see a third barracks added. And really the key for Cheese beating this is he needs to make sure he, again, has that sentry out early and really micros the early game well.
Absolutely, and it looks like Polar is going to actually throw down a bunker at this point. And it looks like Cheese is going to have to do a lot of damage. If he wants to go for a warp gate rush, that bunker is going to make it significantly harder. And it looks like at this point, Polar just being extra safe, knowing probably the tendencies of Cheese and trying to play accordingly. Yeah,
looks like Cheese actually is going 1 gate into fast expansion, which I'm waiting for the 150 mineral count to see if we are going to see a third barrack from Polar, because that it's going to be difficult to defend this period. And I almost feel like if Polar places any sort of additional production facility right now, it might even be a game lock just by the amount of troops you'll be able to pour out. Cheese idling forward to check that barracks, and it looks like he is in fact starting at least I think that's a third barrack on the production tab alongside. Yeah, wow. So yes. Huge timing push incoming. He's going to have the stim pack, might even concussive shells to follow this up, and Cheese is going to be in for the fight of his life. Extremely wide natural expansion to try to defend, even on normal maps where you like Lost Temple, where you have just one entrance, but you have multiple entry points here, and extremely wide natural, so you're going to have those units just able to spread everywhere, and he's not going to have a lot of troops to defend it with.
Yeah, especially since now that he's just throwing down his productive facilities, I know this is the build that he loves doing. He also wants to throw down a robotics momentarily. There it is. So Cheese, of course, going with the 4-gate robo that he does off after a 1-gate expo. But the problem is he is extremely vulnerable, just as you said. Force fields will not be able to split this army easily whatsoever. At the same time, meanwhile, Polar looks like he's going to gear up for a 3 barracks timing push where it'll be very, very strong. And what's actually interesting is that he put a bunker at the front with only Marines, so maybe Cheese even thinks he's teching up to maybe do some factory or starport tech.
Yeah, I really like the decision because you don't see this often. It's just not something you see these days, and that bunker really gave an indication that it was a completely different style of tech. And SCV is coming off the line as well. Wow, this is going to be a huge attack from Polar, and I don't think Cheese is really going to have the units out in the field to defend against it. He's not even getting a look at the army. All he's seeing is the SCV, so he knows an attack is incoming, but he doesn't even know what it's comprised of necessarily, nor what style of upgrade he's going against. He's only got, oh wow, 3 sentries sitting there, so Polar with a brilliant decision here. There is one, looks like ninja pylon there at the 3 o'clock, but I don't think that's going to play a factor at all. Woof, Marauders moving down. It looks like Polar in a fantastic position to win the match. Oh, wow. Bunker on, just perfect positioning on the corner for a backup fall-off point. Probes moving in with the Guardian Shield. Nice split there by Cheese, I got to say. So it looks like the Probes actually going to get more damage than they would have otherwise by pinning this in. So Cheese with some excellent force fields. He actually might stand a chance of winning this fight with these force fields. It looks like, wow. Polar backing off a little bit, but still he has tons of units out in the front. If Polar does not win this fight, he can kiss this game goodbye. The bunker is being repaired, but it looks like it might be taken out. Just a couple Marauders left, some Marines. There's actually only one Marine left in. 2 Stalkers now against 3 Marauders and 2 Marines. Still 2 probes on the front, 1 Zealot, 1 Stalker, but it looks like Polar's still pulling out. More probes coming off the line to try to defend this. His life on the line, more Stalkers warping in. Let's see if the probes can do some defenses. The Marauders do not have a lot of health left. They are backing up, and it looks like somehow Cheese defended.
Wow, this is absolutely ridiculous, and especially if you can survive with that extra Nexus, you can get more probes, but at the same time, more and more Marauders are on the way, and it looks like Cheese is going to have to pull once again, but probes are really good against Marauders, and at this point, Polar is kiting for his life. Cheese sending more and more probes. We pull up the unit count station. Cheese is down to his last dozen probes, but at the same time, Polar did lose a ton of SCVs in the council. Cheese in very, very good condition. We pull up the supply. Cheese, of course, down in supply, but he, of course, is in count of the workers.
Now here's the thing, is Cheese is not out of the woods yet. He does have 2 Nexus. He's going to have twice the Chrono Boost, so he will be able to resupply very, very rapidly. But there's still 3 barracks out there and a very solid economy behind it, so Polar will be able to reproduce very, very, very rapidly. So Cheese needs to be extremely careful of which units he chooses to field. First of all, composition. Second of all, he needs to micro them absolutely perfectly. So Polar still has a really good shot at winning this, but he's down to 13 Harvesters compared to 17. Cheese does have a significant economic lead. I have to say that defense was incredible.
Absolutely. And at this point right now, Cheese has to be extremely careful. He wants to probe up, but again, if Polar comes pushing, he could be in a lot of danger. And also, Cheese does not know if Polar is going to actually expand at this point, but looks like no, Polar's sending his SCVs one more time, so coming for a huge push. And at this point, Cheese might not have enough to hold off this push. He might just sack this expansion altogether, putting in his probes for one last mineral deposit. And here comes the final battle, Diggity.
Oh my goodness. I think that Nexus, yeah, it's just going to be sacked. Looks like the probes huddling in the corner, trying to defend. More units trying to warp in. Cheese just trying to buy himself some time. Now the Stalkers coming from behind. Looks like they're going to have exposure on the Marines and on the Marauders, which is just about where they want to be. SCV's actually killing a lot of probes back there. But this is all in for both players. This is the deciding fight. Zealots up close, but it looks like they're very quickly being dispatched. Stalkers being dispatched as well, and Cheese has to GG. So despite the amazing opening defense, it looks like Polar is our Winter Games Fest champion.
Wow.
So, great play, I got to say, though, from both players in that final match. Thank you, everybody, for driving out, hanging out very late, on which, tomorrow's Monday. Thank you for Frodan for being alongside casting, and thank you for everybody who's watching on the live stream. Definitely an exciting finale. Really good matches all together. Been an amazing day.
Yeah. Congratulations to Polar. He is the recipient of $300, and of course Cheese will get $150. He is not going home empty-handed. And again, thank you so much for checking out the UCSD Winter Game Fest. It is annual. Thank you for all the admins who's run this tournament, and thank you for all the players. Thank you viewers for tuning in as well.
Yeah, and I believe this is going to be our sign-off.
All right.
I'm not sure what the viewer count it was at because I wasn't really checking it during the entire time. But in the meantime, yeah, thanks for listening, guys. We'll check you later.
How do you want to clean up for them to go?
Go ahead.